by creating space. So I think the thoughts represented by this group are all sort of a gain in terms of the life that we share. And last but not least, if you're at all like me, when you start thinking of adding on to your house or remodeling, the first thing you look at is your wallet, right? And so what I want to reassure everybody is that there is no intention as we move forward to strap the next generation with a big chunk of debt. And so as you're going to hear about the recommendations this group is going to make, I'm so proud of them for thinking of financial responsibility. Part of the recommendation is a feasibility study to really say, okay, this is an idea, what we put up there, but we got to make sure that we as a congregation can support that in a responsible way. And so I just couldn't commend this group more. I'm so thankful for them, thankful for their patience, their pushing, their pulling, they're putting the brakes on at times, and I'm just grateful for them. So with that, Dave.
On the back page of your handout of the building team report, there are 3 recommendations from our team. And after our study and conclusion, we recommend that we recommend and will be asking that this body authorize the church council to create a building planning team to develop a specific construction plan, budget, and timeline. These are abbreviated on the screen just so we can remember which the 3 of them are. The second one, enter into a contract with a local architectural firm of JLG Architects. Dan Miller would be the primary architect. JLG is a local firm, or actually is a big firm with a local office, and they're represented right here in Alexandria. And Dan Miller has ties to the Calvary congregation. He is the son-in-law of Lois Miller. And number 3 is to conduct a feasibility study to determine Calvary's financial capacity for the project, which would ensure a realistic and sensible scope to the project, and to help maintain and make sure that we maintain our current financial position. With that, I'm going to run through just a couple of the frequently asked questions that come up, and then I'm going to open it up to try to answer questions that you folks have. One of the things, like I say, one of the foremost things in our thinking was to maximize the current space and current building that we have. The question comes up about losing the space. A couple of our questions said we're losing this or we're losing that. And our team looked at that very carefully, and we don't vision this as losing. We vision this as gaining additional spaces. Again, the sanctuary will be preserved. Will there be change? Yes, but change doesn't always mean that we're losing something. The building exploratory team was all about needs. Okay, we think about needs and wants, and our job was to look at the needs. The next team in the next phase will be to look at the wants, and will be to listen to everyone in terms of what does the congregation want and what are we willing to pay for, because really that's what it comes down to. And the next question that comes up is cost. What does it cost? We don't know. Okay, we're not far enough into a process to have a good, accurate number of what it could cost. If any of us are doing a project at home and we're going to add on, and we're going to do a $100,000 addition to our house, that same space could easily cost $100,000 or it could cost $200,000. And the same would go with the church. If we use fancy floor coverings and fancy wall coverings and the fanciest woods, it could be very expensive. There are ways where you can do it more economically. So those will all be things that we look at before determining a cost. Another question as people look at that drawing that's been circulated is they say that the kitchen is too small. And that kitchen on the main floor in the hub area is a different kind of kitchen. It's referred to as a catering kitchen. It's not where we make and serve the lutefisk supper from. It's a space where we can stage small meals or coffee treats or those kinds of things, stage catered meals in the church. It's something that we see happening out in other congregations, and it kind of looks like the wave of the future. The new team that we're proposing be created will be a team that will look at the big picture. That team will then, we envision, will then have many sub-teams or subcommittees that will report to them, and will go out and check with everybody, okay? As a team member, I don't know exactly what the music and worship people need, Okay, I don't know music, so we'll find people who know that and can bring those reports back to that next team. How can we answer questions for you folks? The question is about the cost of engaging an architectural firm, and is that included in the budget? The architectural firm bases their fee on a sliding scale based on the cost of the project. And obviously, we can't lock into a final project because we don't know if we'll do this, and we don't know what it would cost. So we have an agreement with JLG Architects that will take us through the project. And it's a sliding scale of generally 8 to 9% of a total building project. And the Calvary's congregation will decide at each step whether or not we continue. We have the ability to stop the project at any time. The Renew Plan left some seed money for this. We spent about a third of that money when we engaged JLG to help us through this phase of the project, and the rest of that money could go toward their initial fees as we work through this next phase. Any other questions?
You mentioned the kitchen. I don't see the current kitchen called out. Is this a replacement, like plan, or is it augmentation on the main level? Like what we're asking the state to do today, we're actually do something on the main level that's properly meant to do that, and still have the kitchen downstairs.
The question deals with the kitchen, the existing kitchen, a proposed new kitchen, and how they could work together, or if we're going to change downstairs. Kitchens can be very, very expensive. If we go in downstairs and start tearing that apart or remodeling it, then we come up to code issues of having to bring that kitchen up to the codes of today, which includes a lot of stainless steel and a lot of mechanical changes down there. And that kitchen alone would be very, very expensive. The proposed kitchen space upstairs would serve as a catering kitchen where if someone is bringing a meal in for a funeral, they could stage it there and serve it from that location. It would also serve as the coffee stop on Sunday mornings where coffee and treats can be stored and served and presented. Again, the next team will decide the exact, what happens to which spaces, but we could envision that the current kitchen could stay the same through this process, and then maybe down the road, some improvements could be made down there. Because while functional, it's certainly, we recognize that it's certainly not perfect. Other questions? Yes. There is. I don't have the exact number in my head. I'm looking for Mike, but I believe it's about $25,000 left in that from Renew money that will start this process. And again, we envision that this team could report back to the congregation as early as 6 months with additional recommendations. And at that point, the congregation then will drive this and determine how much money is spent going forward. It's the funds have been approved because they were Renew dollars. They were approved and have been approved for the purposes of this team. Anything else that we should add to that? Okay, thank you. Other questions? A very good point, and you know what? In all honesty, I don't remember that coming up in our discussions. We missed it in our discussions, but I'm glad you did too, because it allows us to say that we, in the talking of that, we value the green space that we have, and we value the playground that the kids have out there, and an effort will be made to preserve that. We don't know, because we don't know the number of seats in a proposed new worship space, we don't know exactly what the city would require of parking spaces. So that's just, again, a concept of that we may have to include or increase the size of our parking lot. In the interest of time, and with the blessings of the leadership, I would, on behalf of the entire Building Exploratory team, it would be an honor for me to make a motion to accept the 3 recommendations of the Building Exploratory team as printed in the handout.
Thank you, Dave, and our team. Is there a second to that motion? I see a second. Right here, Frank Peterson. All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, this brings us to our last item, and this is our new business, the adoption of the 2018 budget. As we look to approve that budget, I ask you to recall the information Mike shared in his treasurer's report and call your attention to the back page of the annual report, the budget and balance statement that was also handed out. Dave Valdez is moving that the 2018 budget is adopted, and there is a second. Your name, please? Bonnie, did you get that? Okay, thank you, Wayne. Any discussion on the budget? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Is there a motion to adjourn? And a second? All right, all those in favor say aye. All right, Skol Vikes, let's go.